The indigenous people who were taken by the colonizers and forcibly baptized by the church were given Christian names. Efforts to stop Native American culture from taking root were on the books into the 1970s, according to the ACLU. Toledo teaches classes about the history of Native American people in Northern California, and she often encounters people who have never heard of the efforts the U.S. government took to wipe out the Native American culture. People say, well, how come we didn't hear this? Toledo said. And I'm like, yeah, how come you didn't hear this? Tactics employed by colonizers, including biological attacks, forced assimilation in boarding schools and outlawing native languages and cultural events, stymie the indigenous population's ability to defend themselves or detail records of the crimes committed against their communities. The Native American record of this period was kept alive only through oral tradition, Toledo said, but the history is not as long ago as people think. There are people that survived that mission period, but not so much there in Sonoma, Toledo said. Yet the man who owned Native American slaves and was a leader of the Spanish colonization effort, General Mariano Vallejo, has multiple monuments in Sonoma Plaza dedicated to his efforts to establish the city. The most recent was installed by the City Council in 2017, featuring Vallejo sitting jovially on the bench facing the Sonoma Cheese Factory. Monuments are not reflections of who someone was, said Eric Stanley, Associate Director and Curator of History for the Museum of Sonoma County, but how the public record wants to weave a figure into its history. Monuments tend to be records of a particular moment in time, said Stanley. And the way people thought about history and the story that they think they want to tell in the public sphere. Revisiting the stories of the past. History is often written by the victors. But it's reviewed and revised by historians, Stanley said. Stories are told at different periods of time for particular reasons, Stanley said. People tend to look at history as this established set of facts when, in fact, history is really a constant re-examining of evidence and records. He said museums have typically displayed Native Americans through an anthropological point of view which consigns the population to the past, and that's not the case at all.